It is estimated that 3.3 million dogs enter U.S. animal shelters each year. Out of this number, 1.6 million are adopted, while about 670,000 of the unadopted are euthanized and put to rest as they don't find adopting families to take them in. Here are 10 mind-opening facts you might not know about when it comes to dog adoption. Fact number 1. Shelter dogs are perfectly normal. One misconception people have flying around is that shelter pets were surrendered by their owners due to some behavioral or health issue that got out of hand. This is not the full truth. Studies show that about 75% of animals are surrendered for adoption due to human circumstances that are usually beyond the pet's control. This leading cause of animal surrender is owners having too many pets they can handle at one time, housing reasons, inability to adequately take care of their pets, and even allergies. The behavior or personality of the dog only accounts for about 8% of total surrenders. Fact number 2. Every shelter dog is carefully evaluated. The majority of functional animal shelters conduct health and behavioral evaluations before making dogs available for adoption. Behavior evaluations have become the standard of care in shelters for identifying dangerous and potentially aggressive dogs that may not do well in a home as a pet. Studies show that dogs evaluated as showing dangerous behavior had longer lengths of stay compared to others evaluated as showing either concerning behavior or no concerning behavior. Usually, these behavioral tests involve exposing a dog to various stimuli they are likely to encounter while in a human home, as well as observing and paying attention to their responses, ultimately drawing conclusions on whether or not it is safe to put them up for adoption. Understanding the relationships between performance on behavioral evaluations and length of stay may inform shelter management of canine populations, and also help identify dogs requiring special adoption efforts to avoid long shelter stays. It is also known that these shelters conduct a more thorough evaluation exercise compared to a lot of dog breeders. Fact number 3. Dogs of puppy age are the most likely to be adopted. When it comes to dog adoption, selecting early ages like puppies is one popular choice amongst adopters. In 2020, puppies were the most adopted dogs from animal shelters at 42%. Roughly 28% of dogs adopted were adults, while 26% were considered to be young adults. Senior dogs are the least adopted, at only 5%. It is very common to see dog adopters run towards the puppies and young dogs, almost always overlooking the seniors. However, it's important to consider a few things before making any adopting decisions. Older dogs are less active than puppies with lower energy levels, with most of them already passed through basic house and potty training. These all contribute to making their stay in the home less tasking. But another thing to consider is the older they are, the less amount of years you get to spend with each other. So it's best to do pros and cons and figure out what age of dog works best for you. Fact number 4. Millions of dogs are sent to animal shelters each year. About 6.3 million companion animals enter U.S. animal shelters nationwide every year. Of this number, approximately 3.1 million are dogs and 3.2 million are cats. It was also estimated that the number of dogs and cats entering U.S. shelters annually has declined from approximately 7.2 million in 2011. The biggest decline was in dogs, from 3.9 million to 3.1 million, majorly as a result of the growing pet ownership culture and increased adoption rate. Fact number 5. A large number of shelter dogs are euthanized. As much as it seems like a huge population has embraced dog ownership, especially the millennials and Gen Zs, the shelters still suffer from overcrowding. And with demand being less than the supply of these pets, shelters record a large number of euthanized dogs each year. The euthanization is majorly due to the inability to find a home for them and overcrowding in the shelter homes. In most cases, seniors fall into the age groups of dogs in line to be euthanized because they are expected to be more likely to develop chronic health issues and have smaller chances of being adopted. Another study asked potential adopters to rank photographs of sheltered dogs from most attractive to least attractive. They found that dogs which were eventually adopted were ranked as the most attractive, and the ones eventually euthanized were ranked as least attractive, concluding that phenotypes had a role to play in dog adoption and euthanasia. Fact number 6. 25% of shelter dogs are purebred. People often think that the only way to own a purebred dog is buying them from the breeders, but that's certainly not the case. Of the total number of dogs in animal shelters, 25% of them are purebred, the most popular breeds being pit bulls, Labradors, German Shepherds, Chihuahuas, and Boxers to name a few. So instead of ruling out the option of adopting your pet from a shelter, you should actually give it a try, as there's a 1 in 4 chance of finding your desired purebred in that shelter. Number 7. majority of dogs from shelters have been neutered or spayed. Spaying for female pets and neutering for male pets are safe, routine surgeries carried out on these animals to prevent them from breeding. Altering your pet's reproductive capabilities can result in health and behavioral benefits for them, as well as preventing the birth of unwanted litters, which reduces the number of homeless pets in your community. Many shelters and rescues have policies regarding spaying or neutering dogs, and do not allow pets to be adopted without having this procedure done already. Getting a dog neutered or spayed is expensive, but thankfully you don't need to worry about covering this cost if you're adopting a shelter dog. Most shelters will go ahead to cover the cost of such procedures while the dog is under their care, and these prices are already included in the small fee you pay to adopt your new furry best friend. Number 8. Adopting from a shelter costs way less. The initial price tag of a pet can range from hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on factors like location, age, breed, and more. However, the cost to adopt one of these canines is way less. Adoption fees for a pup can range from between $118 to $667. On the other hand, a purebred dog from a breeder can cost more than $3,000. Additionally, some shelters sometimes waive adoption fees or run discounts during special events, generally making dog pet ownership very pocket-friendly. Fact number 9. Around 810,000 stray animals that enter shelters are returned to their owners each year. When a lost pet is brought into a shelter, the first thing staff members will do is check for identification tags or a microchip. If the pet has either of these, it makes it much easier to locate their owner and get the animal back home. However, there are still many pets that are not microchipped or wearing identification tags, which makes it much more difficult to reunite them with their owners. These pets may end up staying in shelters for longer periods of time, or worse, being euthanized if the shelter becomes overcrowded. This is why it is so important for pet owners to take the necessary steps to ensure that their pets can be identified if they are ever lost. Fact number 10. Many shelter dogs have been passed through basic obedience training. Dogs in shelters often come from a variety of backgrounds. Some may have been surrendered by their owners because they could no longer care for them, while others may have been picked up as strays. Regardless of their background, many of these dogs have already gone through basic obedience training. This means that they may already know commands like sit, stay, and come, which can make it easier for owners to communicate with them. In addition to basic obedience training, many shelters also offer more advanced training programs for dogs. For example, some shelters have programs where dogs are trained to become therapy dogs, which can be especially beneficial for people with disabilities or mental health issues. Of course, not all dogs in shelters are trained, and it's important for potential owners to be prepared to put in the time and effort to train their new pet if necessary. Adopting a dog can be a wonderful and rewarding experience for both the dog and the owner. By adopting a dog from a shelter or rescue organization, you are giving an animal a second chance at life and reducing the number of dogs that are euthanized each year due to overcrowding in shelters. However, the rewards of adopting a dog are many, and the bond that can form between a dog and their owner is truly special. So if you're considering adopting a dog, take the time to do your research and find the right pet for you and your family. You may just end up with a loyal and loving companion for years to come.